brag, but I can design and build anything. Now, I do have a 5,000 square foot shop, but if I had to start from scratch, start over completely fresh, here's what I would do. I would absolutely start with a 3D printer. I know it sounds lame, but 3D printer, like one of these, pick your favorite $300 to $400 3D printer, buy one, buy PETG as your starting filament. Let's say pre-apocalypse, you bought your 3D printer. Next thing you're gonna wanna buy is one of these CO2 lasers. This will cut wood and foam and plastics up to, let's say, 1/4 inch thick or so. Very handy for taking flat panel sheet stock and making stuff out of it. Fixtures, parts, whatever, gadgets, things you could sell. Used, this machine might run you $150 to $300, let's say. Going on up the apocalypse hierarchy. Next thing you're gonna want, in my opinion, is a lathe. So a mini lathe like this could run you entry level. This one here, I think, is like a $1,200 machine. And then we happen to have this little CNC attachment. A cheaper, pretty awful option, but it is entry level, would be like a $400 to $600 machine, like this little mini lathe, which they joke about on online circles. But this mini lathe with a, again, CNC attachment will get the job done. You can turn 145 copper, let's say, if you wanted to turn 145 copper, you could do that on this machine, or steel with a CNC attachment. If you don't have it, it's gonna be very frustrating, could still be done, still hugely valuable. Now, pre-apocalypse, before you waste your money on a drill press, if you don't already have one, I would put that money into a used Bridgeport machine. This Bridgeport machine right here, let's say you can get one of these $600-800 used, maybe even less. Maybe it looks like crap, it's rusted and stuff, but if you oil it up, put some anti-seize on the ways and check it out, it'll run just fine. And it can be used as a drill press, or you can turn the cranks and machine stuff, some kind of air compressor. This happens to be like a larger one because we're powering a whole shop with the air from that thing. But you could get a little pancake compressor, whatever you want. You just really want to be able to blow parts off like that, so you're not. Next in the hierarchy of usefulness, I would say a TIG welder. That would be my choice for welder personally, because it gives you full control. Yes, you do need bottled gas to use it. So maybe in that case, the argument could be made for like a stick welder, but some kind of welder is gonna be very important. Here's one people might overlook. Don't you love the wood paneling? A spot welder. So this is just a little Harbor Freight spot welder. It's a few $100. I'm sure you could find one of these things used for like $100 to $200 on like Facebook Marketplace, something like that. The spot welder will be very, very useful for this next machine I'm about to show you, because you can stick two pieces of very thin metal together, and then you could put, that's a Variac. If you put a Variac on your spot welder, you can actually spot weld like 5 thousandths thick steel together. Very, very good to remember. Okay, a little bit further up the pyramid hierarchy of pre-apocalypse purchases that I would make if I was starting fresh is a fiber laser. So this fiber laser will cut steel up to, let's say, 30-40 thousandths thick if you just let it keep making passes with a wobble setting. And this is a 30-watt fiber laser. You can get them up to like 100 watts or so. Get, you know, as high a power laser as you can afford. But $3,500 right here, let's say. This allows me to cut flat stock, like shim stock. I can cut very thin steel, spot welded together, as I just showed you. We never run out of uses for this thing. You can make flat springs with it. Unbelievably useful machine. Now, depending on what your goals are for this situation you might encounter when all of our money deflates to nothing, and you can basically store your value in gold or old machinery. That's my opinion anyway. This is a turret lathe, so it's a Harding, however you want to pronounce it, turret lathe. You can find these things for like $500 on up. You cycle this turret, and every time you do that, a tool swings around and you can make a little part. This is for small turned lathe parts. So you can make stuff out of copper on this, put a CNC attachment on it, make a lot of things out of copper, exactly the same to like 2 10,000ths of an inch on that machine. But it's for very small things, small mechanism parts and things like that. You can turn any material on here. It's just me, but you can never have enough lathes. This Shopfox combo lathe, I never use this top part. In fact, I was thinking of just throwing that out, but I didn't, in case I ever want to sell it someday and upgrade my machine. But this little Shopfox combination machine is super handy. Don't be fooled. This is really just a lathe. You can't do like all this wacky stuff with it, or you won't anyway. You will set it up as a lathe and probably only use it for just roughing parts and doing things like that. I want to say this was also like $2,200, maybe a decade ago. We bought it new, but look for used equipment. something like this used would be super handy, especially paired with a 3D printer. That whole conversation about plastic blowing up in certain applications, once you have turned metal, nothing's blowing up. And as the kids say these days, don't sleep on silicone. If I was about to enter some sort of apocalyptic situation, all I had was my home shop, I would absolutely want 2-part platinum cure silicone from, let's say, Smooth On or Magic Mold, companies like that. Here's this $30 drying oven we found at HGR, and we just put our own little thermocouple on it to keep an eye on the temperature. It's got these little controls. Handle is kind of messed up, but who cares? $30. This is like, I don't know, $5,000, $10,000 piece of equipment new if you get it from like a scientific lab vendor. So make sure you're looking for used equipment, but this is how you would cure silicones and have controlled processes for anything that needs to cure. Silicone, urethanes, epoxies, things like that. Highly recommended drying oven because you don't want too much overshoot like you would get on like a home kitchen oven. If you can find one of these, buy it immediately. This is like a jar tumbler, I guess they call it. So you just, it's like a rock tumbler, right? You put your little media in here, you put any of your small parts in there, you turn it on, you let it tumble, and your parts come out completely deburred, polished, amazing looking. So again, if you're making small parts, let's say you're making them out of copper or 4140 steel, something like that, and they're little mechanical parts, you want to tumble those. That's how they get that look that's completely flawless. Same thing with this. I bought this item, I want to say $20. I'm not even kidding, like industrial surplus type places. I don't know how many $1,000 this thing would be new. So if I had to start from scratch and everything was pulled away from me and I just had like some sort of place to tinker, some kind of garage or basement or something, those are all the items I would start with, and I would accumulate those as I could afford them. I would make something, try to sell it on eBay, Etsy, Marketplace, whatever, on the street. Use some of that money to, don't just party with it, roll it back into buying the next best machine that will help your output grow. That's how I would recommend investing money if you are in a situation with like hyperinflation, everything's gone to shit, and you just are in pure survival mode. That is the whole idea of this decentralized manufacturing boom that I see coming, because I don't see where else people are going to make their money or hold value. I think we're all going to be making something at some point if we want to protect our families and have some kind of future for ourselves. All right, that got a little dark, but thanks so much for watching. Adios. Guys, this is not a humble brag, but